Hey everyone, it's Mr. Wobbly94. I hope you're doing well today. I have a book review for you. This one around is a book I've read about 3 or 4 times over the last 3 or 4 years. I reviewed it on my main channel that I focus on this particular series for the most part and things kind of like it, called Michael Goosebumps Fan. Yes, I'm a big Goosebumps fan. I love R.L. Stine's old classic franchise that's still around to this day. I don't know if you know this, but there's still Goosebumps books being made and published all the time. All the time. Like every 3 months we have a new one. And they're still pretty solid. They have terrible endings nowadays, very commonly. They've had like one good one in 2 to 3 years, whatever it's been since Slappy World started coming out. But this particular book has a first book. This is a sequel to one book, and I did not start off these reviews of Goosebumps on this channel. I did on my Michael Goosebumps fan channel. I've reviewed all 4 of the Haunted Mask books, but I've not talked about these in order here on this channel. Maybe I will at some point by the time you come across this review, I don't know. But during the month of October, I was going to talk about certain things like the Pine Deep trilogy. I just did not have the time to get around to finishing it, or reading it for that matter. I read the first book, Ghost Road Blues, from Jonathan Mayberry, and just couldn't get caught up. So I'm sorry about that, number one. But number two, I'm trying to catch up, trying to get some of these reviews out. I did read Frankenstein from Mary Shelley. I read this book here that I'm about to talk about, and Ghost Road Blues, like I said, so I'll try to get reviews out for all of these things. But for now, we have Goosebumps, the old classic series, number 36, The Haunted Mask 2. Yeah, look at this color scheme up here with the orange and blue and how beautiful that is. Look at this Tim Jacobus cover, man. How iconic is that with the forest behind here, the little jack-o'-lantern, the messed up mask and everything this kid is wearing. This is a fantastic book. I love this so much. It is my second favorite of the most wanted, or the Haunted Mask books from Goosebumps and from R.L. Stine. There is 4 of these, like I said. You have the original 2 from the Gold Classic series, and then you have the 3rd book called Scream of the Haunted Mask. It's in one of the 2008 to 2009, whatever era it was, whatever year frame it was. Horrorland was what that series was called. Then you had one that became, it was started out as called Goosebumps Wanted. It was called The Haunted Mask as the first book. It was a hardcover release, and then they changed that title to Most Wanted, so it's Goosebumps Wanted The Haunted Mask. It's the only wanted book. Then you have Most Wanted of that series era from like 2013 onward. Anyway, this is not my favorite Haunted Mask book. I think it's better than the first book, easily. Hands down, no questions asked. I think it's a better book than the first one. I think Goosebumps Wanted The Haunted Mask is the absolute best. It's bloody, it's scary, it's gory, it will get under your skin, and you'll never forget it. As long as you live, you will not forget that book. Now, starting off with this, it's kind of it's a direct sequel to the first book. Most of the Goosebumps books do not have direct sequels. You have the Monster Blood series where like 3 or 4 of those books really do have the same characters constantly coming back, mainly Evan dealing with the situation they're in. The Slappy books don't have that. Most of those series that have numerous entries in them don't have that situation. It's very uncommon. The Haunted Mask has it for like the first 3 books. You have Carly Beth involved in all 3 books, but she's not the main character of all 3 of the first books. The first book I really dig. It's a really good one, really solid. A lot of people consider it one of their favorites, their top 10 possibly out of all of the franchise in total, especially in the community itself. I have a lot of friends who say The Haunted Mask 1 is their favorite Goosebumps book of all time. I could never go to that extent. I couldn't. I've read a lot of great ones. One's better than that. I think Haunted Mask 2 is better than that. Like I said, Haunted Mask 2 basically picks up with the bullies from the first book that picked on the main character Carly Beth and her friend Sabrina. This one is focused on Steve, who is kind of a brat of a kid. He's always in trouble. He's kind of becoming a career criminal. Sorry, I can't talk. At some point, he probably will be some kind of criminal of some sort. And he's just a brat. At some point, he's been punished recently for some kind of crime he's done in school or whatever. And oddly enough, they punished him by saying, hey, you're going to teach a bunch of elementary schoolers how to play soccer. And R.L. Stine does not hold back. At one point, he just kind of lets his feelings be known about children and sports. He's like, yeah, there's nothing more fun because, kids just kind of consider soccer just kicking a ball around for 2 hours and scoring no points. He ain't wrong. Stine is not wrong. He has like one kid. He's not wrong. I don't blame him. That took some gall to put that in this book. Anyway, so, moving along, the actual plot itself is that Steve and Chuck want to be as scary, mainly Steve wants to be as scary as Carly Beth was the previous year with the haunted mask that she had for last year at this particular shop locally that showed up. And Steve gets the information out of her where she got that mask. He goes out there too wanting a mask just as scary as hers. And again, I'm not going to spoil the ending of the first book or anything, but Steve kind of gets stuck in the same situation of what Carly Beth was stuck in that first book. The mask itself that he gets is an old man mask, but when he goes to that store, it's actually out of business. He sneaks in the basement when he sees an open door. He and Chuck go downstairs, and he grabs one out of there, out of a box, and he takes off. It happens to be an old man mask with like spiders in the hair. There's like a flap of skin right here that's hanging down. It shows bone underneath the skin. And he's very much just amazed by how creepy this mask is. It's so gross and just disgusting. It's very much a very decayed old man, like a zombie old man type of thing. Anyway, he puts the mask on, just like Carly Beth did, and after a couple of tries, it eventually starts getting so stuck to his skin that he can't pull off, and eventually he can't get it off whatsoever. The difference is that when Carly Beth wore her mask in the first book and became kind of possessed by this thing, it fused itself to her skin, there was no bottom to the mask, she couldn't take it off. The thing that had really happened to her is that she became angry and fierce and hurtful and mean, just a mean attitude. Carly Beth wasn't like that. She's probably, arguably, in my opinion, the best character that's ever come out of the human characters selection, out of all of Goosebumps, the whole franchise. She's sweet, she's fun, she's lovable, you can't help but love that girl. Steve is one of the best characters I've seen too. I would say he might be right behind Carly Beth as my second favorite of the human characters throughout the whole franchise of Goosebumps. He's kind of a brat, like I said, but I like him. I'm rooting for him in this book. Unlike Carly Beth's mask, what his mask does, it turns him almost into the features of an old man. So when his fuses to him, he slows down a lot. He can't really run. He can't do anything but walk on a cane. He has a lot of bones popping and stuff in his body, a lot of joint pain, aches, back hurts, all kinds of stuff. There's one particular scene that still gets to me. Every time I think about this book or every time I read it, I get chills that particular spot of the book. There's a scene where he is at his desk and the chapter ends, and then the next chapter picks up with, I woke up in the dark. I must have fell asleep at my desk sitting up straight. And all I can imagine is this kid, this small frame body kid, kind of like in the TV episode, but they don't have that scene in the episode 2-parter, which is also excellent, by the way. It might be better than the actual book itself. My throat's really dry. It's really cold outside today. Steve himself, that scene just gets to me. There's something about that scene that just bothers me deep down. It just, something eerie about a kid with this old man mask stuck to his body. He can't get it off. Just being stuck in his dark room, relaxing, whatever. And it kind of takes the events of the first book and most Goosebumps books and flips them on their head. For example, if you're trying to hide all of these things with your features and your mask and whatnot from your parents, in this book, it's actually, hey, I'm going to show them and let them think that it's my Halloween costume this year. Just let them think it's something kind of cool. I love Steve's mom in the book. She's a great character too. There's some really great, impactful stuff that really hits here. Well, like I said, I love how certain lessons we learn from the first book, the themes of the first book, are kind of flipped on their head here, and they're just as meaningful. Just as fun. I will say this, the book itself is very dark. The first book was, but this book is also extremely dark, and I would say it has a little bit more humor mixed in this time around too, like with the whole thing about training kids on how to play soccer and stuff for Steve's punishment. That's been kind of fun. But I will say, the darker side of this, the creepy atmosphere to this, it captures Halloween in a way the first book doesn't, but I think the first book does capture Halloween better than this book. Does that make sense? I like this one more, but the first book would be better for most people getting into Goosebumps, you know? I think this is excellent. I love it. I think it's powerful. It's scary. It can be funny at times. It's basically a horror comedy. The ending of it is terrifying to me. There's something about that last chapter of this book with the conclusion of the story that just gets under my skin. I don't know what it is. I told my wife about it. She's not read any Goosebumps books before. I want to get her to at some point. I want her to read this one in particular at some point, just to see how she reacts. She's seen the TV episodes, it scares the hell out of her. But I will tell you this, that ending scares me so bad. I don't know what it is about it. It's something so unnatural and weird, and the picture in my head gets to me so much more than probably most people. I don't know why. I'm not a very picturesque person in my brain. I'm really not when I read books. But this one gets to me. Tremendously so. It really, really bothers me. The writing style for this book is your typical Goosebumps style. It's your typical R.L. Stine writing style. It's a very, it's not very super complex. It's a children's middle grade book. It's not meant to be super hardcore and very Dickens-like. You know, it's not going to be purple prose filled or anything like that. It's a kid's book. But it's also genuinely scary. I think it's a great book. I think it's one of the scariest Goosebumps books. Probably in my top 5, easily. Out of all the ones I've read over 100 of these books, easily in my top 5 out of all of them. I recommend it highly. Every time I'm on my channel, I talk about this book. It seems like this or a Slappy book. There's just so much to this book. I like Chuck, the best friend, who is also a bully. Sabrina and Carly Beth are in this book quite a bit, even though, like I said, a lot of the time the sequels to these books don't relate to the previous books. This one kind of sticks close to that first book. It does pretty well at that. I will tell you this, it's not a perfect book, but I love it. I think it's excellent. I think it's a really fun read. I think it has so much going for it. I can't believe people like the first book more than this one. I feel like there's so much more effort and time and heart put into this one than the first book. I don't know, it just amazes me. As a fan of Goosebumps, it bothers me how I went my whole life not reading this book until like a few years ago when I got the whole channel going up on the Michael Goosebumps fan channel. It's amazing to me how people don't talk about this one or don't appreciate it. It seems like even in my community over there, people don't really like this book all that much, which is weird to me. But even so, when it comes to Goosebumps number 36, The Haunted Mask 2, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I would hands down give this a 5 out of 5 stars. Yes, it's not perfect. I understand there's going to be some complaints here and there that people pointed out on my old channel, or my other channel, my main channel, whatever you want to call it. But I do love this one. I think it's a great read. I think it's fun, it's spooky, it's Halloween-like, it's everything you could want with the costumes and the decorations and everything else. I like Steve's whole panic about maybe next year he can't, really celebrate Halloween. He might be too old. He might not want to do it anymore. This might be his last Halloween. He wanted to make an impact with that big, scary mask. I like it. I like Steve. He's a cool character. But anyway, what are your thoughts on The Haunted Mask 2? What are your thoughts on all 4 of the Haunted Mask books? Put your thoughts, all of that, down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. I am currently rereading Goosebumps 1 of The Haunted Mask. I do want to read that. I usually read it before Halloween even gets here, but I've been so busy I've never been able to finish it up. I'm about halfway through, so I hope to get around to that at some point for you guys. I have a few other books I'm rounding up right now. I'm trying to finish reading. I did have a book haul today I want to show you guys too at some point. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below about The Haunted Mask 2. Did you love this book? Do you think it's underrated too? I would be so upset if people said it wasn't, because I think it is. I think as an adult, I will tell you, reading this book for the first time as an adult about a few years ago really got to me. It's extremely effective. Extremely effective, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's so good. Love the book so much. Anyway, put your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you for watching once again. God bless you, and goodbye. And also, happy Thanksgiving. That's coming up this week, too. That's fast. This year's going to be over in no time. It's going to be 2022 before I even know it. Anyway, thank you again. God bless you. Goodbye.